Hey, what up, you fucks? How's it going out there in podcast land? Welcome back to the Friends with Words podcast, and joining me on this episode, a really funny guy, a good friend of mine, Mr. Will Noonan. Will recently released an album called Mental Willness. He runs a podcast called Hypothetically, and he's been on Gotham Live, and we just had a conversation about comedy, life, and whatever's going on in the world right now. So without further ado, here's our conversation. Enjoy.
Hey, what's up? I went there. What's up,
I think
Lauren?
hydration is 80% of life.
Is it?
It's like 80% of your body, right?
Probably 75.
75?
Close enough, yeah.
Whatever percentage it is of your body, it also is to life. Like if you don't hydrate yourself, you're gonna be 75% less happy.
So you're saying like the fish are just fucking killing it?
Fish are always happy. That's why they like swim into death when they see a net. They're like, fuck it.
Yeah, it's all good.
This journey's over. I'll start again. They're so zen. It doesn't even matter, and it's all hydration.
And they take care of they cover up most of the.
Of course, could be the opposite, right? Like they need a little oxygen. So maybe to them, if they don't have enough oxygen, they feel dehydrated. You understand?
By the way, guys, I run a fishing podcast, and so we're only going to dig.
I thought this was Malin Pavletic's fishing podcast. She does a podcast where you go fishing, I guess.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I wanted to do it, and we could never like find a day where we could both do it. But she takes someone fishing
On the podcast?
Yeah, on the podcast. She's not like a fisherman either, but it's fun. It's like a funny, weird thing for two people to do.
Huh. I never heard of that.
I've only been fishing maybe, I don't know, a few times in my life.
I've been like once ever.
What were the circumstances?
It was like a trip. It was like a deep sea fishing kind of stuff. It was like a trip where it's like someone else is obviously paying for it. Yeah. So if you don't look at me, it doesn't look like I have a boat.
The first time I went was with my school. It was one of those like bonding things.
Yeah.
I went to Catholic school and they took us deep sea fishing. It's kind of funny too because if I had known what it was going to be like, I wouldn't have gone like out of fear.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, yeah, going fishing. It's a school thing, and I just went with it. But then they took us out, like, so far. Like, it's definitely the farthest out to sea I've ever been.
Yeah.
And then you go out there, and super rough seas. Tons of kids were getting sick. And I took Dramamine. And I didn't get sick, but I still was, like, miserable. But I did catch some fish. But it was just a long day, and I was like, fuck all this.
But what did you learn is what's most important.
I think I learned very quickly that was the wrong school for me. It took me like 4 years to get out of there.
Not Catholicism in general, just that school?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not into Catholicism. I mean, the core of it, I'm like, good for you. Like, it's all good. But as far as, like, the church goes, it's hard to not. It's like they've been caught lying. The Catholic Church has been caught lying, like, repeatedly throughout history.
Yeah.
And in my lifetime, I'm a young man, just in my lifetime, so many times, so I can't trust them.
It's just a business, though. We're all about making money.
Yeah, it's brutal, though. Did you go to any kind of Catholic school or religious?
I used to go, I don't know, I'm not officially an atheist, but I mean, if you're a comedian, you're like halfway there.
Yeah.
Like, that's just kind of how it is, but no, we used to go to do Sunday school when I was like a little kid, and pretty much to me, it was just like, just don't be an asshole. Like, you don't need to read all these stories about all this stuff. Like, but religion's just a structure.
All the religious cores, they're like just lessons for not being an asshole.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
like if someone is bothering you, like take the high road. That's kind of like even Islam, which is like a fairly aggressive religion in a lot of ways. Like if you swipe all the bullshit away, it's still like be good to each other. Like be good to your family. Like be good to yourself. But once it becomes like. It's humanity. It's like once you get dudes in like putting on robes and saying like, "Oh, I talk to God." Like,
it's like that it becomes...
He says this, and it's like I remember like very young. I was like probably because I wanted to be a comedian. Like not even all right. So like I dated a girl who was religious a few years back.
She's Catholic, or
no? She was like Christian. But like that, almost I don't know whatever born again Christians kind of are.
Whores.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I fucked up,
she
and
was
now I'm good.
Fucked up, like had no. I think she had a bad childhood, so she like, as a young middle school or something, like, just was like, I need structure, family. So she went with, like, the born-again Christians. Yeah. But, you know, she would drag me to, like, their services, like, a couple times a year. And I used to, like, as a comedian, I'd be like, oh, my God, like, this preacher dude, like, is loving this. Like, he set this whole community up to just, like, suck his nuts and think he's, like, a wise, like, pious motherfucker and all this stuff. And I was just like, I could see right through. I felt, it's just my opinion, but I was like, I see right through this guy. And you know, he goes to the door, and as everyone you leave, you got to, like, shake this hand. He's got to have, like, a moment with you where he's like, oh, have a Merry Christmas, and thank you for coming. And it's just like, I was just like, this guy's an egomaniac like anyone else. He's not like a fucking God. He's not like some holier.
Well, it goes back and forth, because, I mean, like, some people, they need guidance. Mm-hmm. So some people need that, but when you have that, you're always going to have people who are going to prey on that. Yeah. When someone's lost, someone's like, oh, yeah, come this way.
Yeah, follow me. I just think it's kind of like, it's right there. It's such a weird start. We're talking religion out the gate. I think it's weird, though, how in the Bible, like, it says, like, you know, to donate. If you're going to donate money to charity, you're going to do a charitable act. If you tell everyone about it, it's not worth anything. Like,
that is true, though.
It's kind of like you're just doing it for your rep, and I think that is true. But it's kind of like, but at the same time, they're like, but if you want to, like, become a priest and just flaunt the fact that you're religious in everyone's face, like, I just trust the people who are kind of, like, quietly religious and then keep to themselves, do nice shit, like, they don't rub it in people's faces. And you still, like, get good things in life by doing that, you know what I mean? Yeah. You just don't, you know. Like, it's like I was watching, I got in, like, a World Star hip-hop, like, compilations, like, fucking, I could watch those, like, forever, because it's like 90% of the time it's just like people laughing super hard, which is always feels good to, like, watch. But then the rest of the time, every now and then they'll throw in something, like, super horrible, like a dude blowing his hand off with, like, firecrackers or something. But then every now and then there's, like, this thing where it's like a guy giving something cool to a homeless guy, like, I'm gonna give these new Jordans to a homeless dude.
They just freak out,
which I'm like, you're just giving that guy, like, a reason to be fucking mugged in, like, 25 minutes, you know? And another one is these dudes videotaping them giving $100 bills to homeless guys, which I think is awesome, but, like, don't videotape yourself doing it on your phone.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you're kind of like a piece of shit.
Right?
Where it's like, a lot of people do that on Facebook, too. They'll be like, they'll tell this long, drawn-out story, how I gave money to this and this, and it's like, oh, there's still faith in humanity. And it's like, no, dude, you did that so people would like you. Yeah. You didn't do that because you did that so
it bothers
to bring yourself up. And so,
I mean, that's like a Boston thing to hate people who are, like, putting on airs. Yeah. But I think it's like, it's everywhere now. I mean, even Kickstarters are kind of self-righteous. Like, even, I mean, it all is. Like, the whole Facebook thing, like you just mentioned, it's like, I haven't been on Facebook, like, other than, like, my comedian page or fan page, I haven't been on there in, like, a year. And it's, like, it's great because, like...
Well, people are terrible. If you've been online, like, people are terrible.
Yeah, like, I like people more not having it because, like, there were too many people. You know, you see them on a day-to-day basis. I only now judge them on the interactions that we have, whereas before I would always judge them on, like, oh, she fucking thinks, like, you know, this, or, God, she's such, like, a social justice warrior. This guy always says he kills, like, what a dick, you know what I mean? Like, so then it's just, like, now I don't have that shit. And I think people get out of hand on there, and it's like, someone else said it, but it's just like people are putting out magazine articles, like, about themselves, you know, like, look at what I'm doing. Like,
I mean, it's a mix of both. Whereas, like, if people don't even realize this, I've been talking to a friend about this. Like, social media is actually designed for famous people, not regular people.
Yeah,
like, regular people.
No, it's true.
You should use it how you do before. It's like,
especially with Twitter.
Yeah, like, everyone's like, hey, it should be, if you want a regular person, just be like, hey, let's use Facebook to have this party. Everyone want to come do it. Things like little simple things like that. Whereas as far as, like, if you're not doing anything and you don't have a brand to promote or come to my this or that, like, social media is actually made for people doing things.
No, it's true. And it's all, but I think people play famous on there. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, I'm going to endorse a presidential candidate. It's like, okay, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Or I'm going to, like, let my opinion about this public event known. It's like, okay, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? When Alec Baldwin, for example, does that. It's like, it is kind of news.
Name dropper.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know why. I just was like, why did you choose Alec Baldwin? But the people who tweet politically or whatever all the time, but yeah, it's stupid. I mean, I don't think I'd like to think that if I wasn't doing comedy, I wouldn't do any of that shit.
That's exactly my point as well, because I'm like, people just want to show everything they've got. Yeah. It's more about bringing themselves up. It's like, if I wasn't trying to make myself known in any way, then I wouldn't do it at all.
I think the only one I would do is Instagram. I kind of like Instagram, like in just a genuine way. I feel like people put out like, it's like the most creative of all the things. Like even just putting a filter and framing a photo, it's like good for people to be doing a little bit of that sort of creative thing. And you can kind of like look through Instagram and just sort of be like, all right, like, it's not like Facebook. Where, I mean, some people, I guess, are, like, putting, like, political
messages,
stuff on
it's like, you can put words.
But usually, I only follow people who put out, like, just photos, and I follow, like, that's the one where I follow anyone and follow thousands of people, and I think it's, like, Instagram's, like, a cool, like, window into, like, oh, shit, like, that's how people live, like, in the Midwest. Or...
Well, it's a community, too. It's like, you can actually speak to all the people, which is, it's great, and it's also scary as fuck.
Yeah, and the hashtags work well on Instagram, like... But I like Instagram compared to I like Twitter too, but I only really do the ones I like. But Facebook just started to be like a bummer.
Well, the problem is with Facebook, it's just your air quote friends.
Yeah.
And they're out of their fucking mind.
Yeah.
They think they're more than what they are, and they don't realize like the people that like your stuff, they're your friends. You've met them. Whereas if you put it out there on a larger scale, no one would give a shit.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, wow, like 20 people think that's cool. It's like, 20 people who agree with the shit that I like think it's cool. And it's like, it's not really that important.
That's probably how, like, Trump got so much steam, you know what I mean? Because like,
that is true, though.
Because it's like, if you're a Trump guy and all your friends are Trump guys, and every tweet you put out gets like 50 likes, you're like, oh, I'm like part of the majority. Yeah. No, it's true. That's another thing. Like, that was another reason why I was like, got rid of my regular Facebook page and converted it to like
a fan page.
Because I was like, I'm just like preaching to the choir here. I'm just getting the same 100 people repeatedly. Like,
yeah, it's not important. You're not reaching anything.
Like, else, and some people be like, like older guys, they'd be like, wow, you're really killing it on Facebook. I'd be like, not really. You know what I mean? It's just like, I probably have a more active group of friends than you do. So they're just like, oh, good, like.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I mean? But it was just like, now I have to, when you have a fan page, it has to get like 30 likes before anyone sees it. Yeah. So like your followers have to like it, and then it'll go to like general Facebook. Yeah. But you can pay too, I guess. But I've never paid for a Facebook.
Will Noonan, beingpopular.com.
Yeah.
Showing you how to do it.
Yeah, I got tips. Rydoon trained me how to.
But I got to give you props too. So your closing bit, I got to give you props. I was at a wedding this summer, man. And I almost laughed out loud during the bridesmaid speech because it was exactly that shit where it's just the total monotone.
Yeah, that joke is like, of any joke I ever wrote ever, is like the one people like connect with and go like I did it. It's finally going to be on TV. Like I just did
you did that last
TV thing.
Nice.
Which, like, kind of, I wasn't that, like, oh, man, this is going to be great. Because, like, the first season it came out, it was, like, a piece of shit, like, rip-off for comic show.
Yeah.
And then they, like, fired everyone, like, revamped the whole thing. And, like, last year, it was, like, pretty good. And then this year, they're, like, really doing a good job. I think, like, a lot of people are going to be, like, surprised when it comes out.
When's it coming out?
I think, like, just in a month or two.
Nice. Didn't they just record that, like this week?
Yeah, a few days ago. Cool. But I did that joke, and I was, like, super psyched because I was, like, trying to get it on somewhere before it, like, got stolen or, like, just something happened. Or someone else did it, too, or something. You know what I mean? So I was like, I want to get it on. And while I was doing it during the taping, there's, like, a part of it where I'm, like, especially, like, the bridesmaid part where I'm, like, she'll always be there with a hug and a beer at the end of a long day. And there was, like... women in the crowd started saying it along with me. Like, when I said, like, they'll always be there, like, they were, like, they just filled in the blanks. Like, they knew it. They've heard it a zillion times. Right? Oh, like, it killed. Yeah. That joke has saved me from so many, like, you'd be so surprised. Like, you could eat dick for 40 minutes, and then you have one great closer, and the guy who owns the place is like, great fucking show. Like, as long as they're happy at the end... fucking gold.
That's really what it is. But yeah, like, I was at that wedding and I was just like, I was this close to laughing out loud. It was like, it's the most monotone speech I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, the people who are listening, it's just like it's based on a true story. I went to like a wedding and a funeral in the span of like 4 days.
Yeah.
And they were like,
which was first?
The wedding was first, and they were like the same families, right? Mm. So this one woman happened to like make a speech. She like read from the Bible at like both, you know? I think she read from the Bible at one and like gave a speech at the other.
Yeah.
But it was like the exact same voice, like in the exact same emotion, both. And I think I had been going to a lot of weddings. You know, I'm getting to that age where like I'm going to a lot of weddings.
What's you right there, bro?
The past few years. And I mean, now I don't go to any at all because they're always, I can like say I got to work. But, but for a while I was going to weddings.
I hate you all, by the way.
Yeah. I was like, I can't stand weddings. But I was like, I heard that line, like, hugging a beer at the end of a long day, like so many times. I was like, this is like just so hacky and not even that great. Like,
I mean, the thing is, the people doing the speech, they're not supposed to be great, but it's one of those things where it's like, as someone who goes on stage and gives speeches, you're like, this shit sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even try.
So it's a long bit, but it's been like a good bit for me as far as like people like it. And it's my number. It's like I have an album, and it's like the track that gets downloaded the most, and I think it's like it's fun for me to do. But I get a lot of like that. People say that to me all the time, like, yeah, I heard I went to a wedding, or like I was my maid of honor. Like a lot of chicks say that, did that speech, and makes me happy.
Keep it going, dude.
It's warm and fuzzy inside.
Who do you think is who's like your main influence? You think for doing comedy? You can pinpoint one. I mean, there's so many probably.
I can't pinpoint one, but I can pinpoint two. Because it was like this weird mix of Jerry Seinfeld and Richard Pryor. I was like exposed to both of them. Like a lot, just sort of by circumstance. My parents were like Richard Pryor fans, and just comedy like record having people,
which people used to do.
Which people used to do, and even they were kind of like, I mean, too young for that, but they like just had them. And then they had like the CDs, but I remember mainly we had like a VHS tape of Richard Pryor live. And we had a VHS tape of like Richard Pryor on the Sunset Strip, and I liked those. I didn't even like know what he was talking about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just like, this guy's hilarious. Like, I didn't even know what the fuck. Like, I still watch a lot of Richard Pryor, and I'm like, man, he's like I can't believe my parents let me watch this, but I think they were just like, he doesn't even fucking get it. He's just like, he enjoys this goofy guy.
Kind of like when you listen to it now, when you're younger, you're just like, you didn't understand those words, you don't understand that, but you're just like, that's a good beat, you know, like, that's kind of cool, but you didn't even understand.
Which I think is really, like, the sign of a fucking awesome comedian, you know what I mean? If anyone, like, there's always that biggest honor, like, when I know someone doesn't speak English and they're, like, still laughing. Like, I did those German things, and I was, like, making the Germans laugh, and, like, they didn't even know what I was saying. I was like, that's, like, the highest honor for, like, being funny. But... And then at that same time, I was like a little kid. It was like 88, 89, 90. Jerry Seinfeld was like all over HBO. It was like before the Seinfeld show. And he had like 2 different specials on HBO that I taped off HBO on our VCR. So I had like these 4 tapes.
And that was live.
And that was like my comedy, you know, that was my stand-up comedy like world. I watched them all the time. And like I can still remember those like the lines. I know Seinfeld's like whole fucking repertoire by heart, and I just those 2 when as like a young guy I really loved, and then as I got older, like Dave Chappelle and Dave Attell, which are kind of both similar to Seinfeld and Richard Pryor in a way. Like Richard Pryor is a physical guy who can do like what I admire about Richard Pryor and Dave Chappelle is how they tell stories and everyone in the story is like an amazing character that they can do.
They're conversationally funny.
It's not it's not an impression, and it's not like here's like Jack Nicholson or anything like that. It's just like Eddie Murphy had it too. It's just the ability to like tell a story and flow in and out of like amazing characters and like you don't even realize until it's over, like that you picture the entire thing in your brain like, perfectly, you know. So those kind of comics I love. But then you have like guys like Jerry Seinfeld and Dave Attell, whose jokes themselves are just so fucking funny that it's like they don't even have to move if they don't want to. They could just like read those into a mic. They could just play them into a dark room over a speaker and get great laughs. Like it's just killer shit, you know. So I'd like to think one day I could be like the best of both of those, you know.
You ever get to work with either one or no?
No, I've never even seen. I used to see Seinfeld like on the streets.
Yeah, down in
New
York.
Down in New York. It pissed me off. Do you know Paul Landwehr?
Yeah.
Like he went down to New York like to do comedy there for like the first time. He won. He's a New Hampshire comic. Like, he's been doing comedy a long time, but
he's a funny dude. Yeah,
he's a funny dude. I work with him a lot. I love him. But that's why I'm gonna say I was mad at him, because he fucking won a contest, and one of the like prizes he won was like this spot at Dangerfields. And he goes down. It's like his first time. I don't even know if it was his first time in New York, but it was definitely I think his first time doing stand up. He goes to Dangerfields and like does a great set and gets off stage, and like the next comic was Seinfeld. He had walked in, and I was like, motherfucker, because I lived in New York for 9 years, and I only did comedy for the last 3, but I went to see stand-up comedy like all the time, all those years, and it was like...
You never saw Seinfeld.
Never saw Seinfeld. I was like the king of like, 20 minutes after you left, Seinfeld was here, or 20 minutes after you left, Chris Rock was here. I saw like I saw everyone else. I saw like Attell, I saw Geraldo, I saw Patrice, I saw Burr, I saw Jim Gaffigan, I saw all of them. Everyone, but like those other guys, I've never seen Dave Chappelle live. I've never seen. No,
I've seen him twice, and he's just on a different level.
Yeah, I watch it. I mean, I've watched hundreds of hours of like bootleg shit of him on YouTube and stuff, but never been lucky enough to see him live.
He's actually working on this thing, so because you know people are like fucking up comedy shows nowadays, and they're like taking pictures or doing whatever. So he's like super tight-lipped about that shit. So he's working on this thing. It's like this kind of little bag, and you put your phone in it, and it shuts everything off. So
some
people
clubs have that.
Yeah, you put it in the bag. He's trying to put money into it. Where it's a thing where if you come to his show, you're not, because when you think about it too, it's a lot of people.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah, it is. It's probably not gonna work.
Good luck with that. People would rather not go to a show than part with their cell phone.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where like you go to a show and you're watching something, but you're like, oh, what's going on Twitter? Oh, what's going on Facebook?
That battle's over. Like you got to start being. I almost think like we should give the crowd like a cell phone intermission, like not like a get up and go get a fucking drink 5-minute intermission, but like between like the feature should take like a little time or something to be like, all right, let's all check our phones.
Yeah, see what's going on. Yeah,
I've seen it done, and it's really because some people like can't, you know. I turn my phone off all the time. I'm happy to, but some people are like fucking connected to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, a lot of comics they do like with Z's when he does a show. He's like, beginning of the show, he's like, hey, everybody, pull out your phone, pull out your cameras, take a picture right now. I'll do some poses. I'll do some poses right now, and then put them shits away.
That's cool. I like that. See, I think that's pretty cool, and you know, I think it's gonna phase. You know, it's funny. I hate to say, like, Chappelle's getting old, but he is. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like the younger generation of comics, like, it doesn't phase them to see people filming them in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it almost doesn't phase me, really. It used to be a weird thing when it started, but I'm getting kind of used to it. It doesn't really bother me that much.
It's kind of just what people do now.
And I think people, like, our age, and especially the younger people, are, like, fucking real used to having cell phones filming them, and it's kind of like
world star.
Yeah, and I don't know. We're a more disposable generation, like as far as our material and our like guys put. Even me, like with my podcast, like you could pretty much, if you were like a super fan of mine, you're probably gonna like have heard a lot of my jokes in development, like on the podcast, like or you're gonna be like, oh, I remember when like I heard like the seed of this joke like on the podcast. I know comics now who like put, you know. Even, like, Rooftop for a while, they'd, like, put shit up just, like, when you were working on, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it's tougher now to be, like, here's, like, and it's, I think, to the detriment of, like, good material. It's, like, harder to keep stuff secret longer. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You think it devalues it?
I think it just makes everyone like you're rushing to get it out instead of it's like just like the media. Like they used to be able to like work for weeks on like a great story and like fucking like make sure everything was just right and report this like perfect piece of journalism. But now the people's appetite for news is so like ravenous that it's like they have to throw out shit before they can verify it, and rumors from like Twitter are like on the CNN feed. And the comedy's kind of the same way. I feel like it's kind of like instead of just like working a joke to death and getting it right, people are like good enough and just throw it out. You know what I mean? It's like premise, punchline, like there it is.
Well, I think it's nowadays like people like fans, they don't realize how much time it works to make something right, and so they always want material. Same reason why I do this, where it's like people want content, and it's like I can't crank out all this new shit all the time because they're always like, "Ha, funny, what's next? Ha, what's next?" Yeah. Like, no, you need to give people something, but they don't realize.
You see it with when people blow up huge, like when guys get like super famous, like their albums start to suck because it's like they're not like. They don't have the time to like write great comedy, and they're also not living like the life they used to live, like
at all.
You know, like there's something. I think comics, like it's corny, but like comics write the best when they aren't doing much else. Like I think like, or you're doing social things and fun things, but you're not like, you know, like traveling to gigs. Like there's like not a lot of material there. Like staying in hotels, like. There's shit to do, but who gives a fuck? Like,
you got to be out around.
I always think that when like comics are doing hotel jokes, I'm like, how often do you think these people stay in hotels? Like, once a year, they don't have like, oh, the soap is so fucking shitty. It's like it's once a year. They deal with it and then they move on with their life. Maybe business people more, but I always thought the hotel stuff, the plane stuff, it's like it's not everyday shit. Like, you know, the best stuff like is when you're going on dates and going to weddings and like
things that everybody can pretty much relate to.
Average people stuff. I always think like if I ever got like Kevin Hart famous, I would take like 2 months a year, 3 months a year to just like live.
Yeah,
not do anything.
Yeah,
like go and like not even necessarily like in America if you were that famous. Like I'd like to go to like Scotland or something and just like live in like a city, not like a small village. I'm not trying to like fucking be Stephen King. I just want to like live like a normal person if I were like that. Because
a lot of comics say too, it's like I'm not advocating it, but have kids.
Yeah.
As soon as you have kids, it's like the material just writes itself. A lot of people say that. It's like you have a kid.
I know,
all that shit just writes it.
That's tough too though, because then you're just entering a whole new genre of like hack material. Because it's like it's hard to write stuff about dating that hasn't been done like a million times. I mean, I guess not anymore because dating has changed too. But the guys with kids. I think it's like that's good if you're like already a good writer, but like if you're like a hack and you have kids, it's not going to make you like any less hackier. You're just going to keep doing like shitty jokes. Now they're going to involve kids.
What did you think you were? I mean, I don't know what's exactly is your end game. Like, what are you trying to make out of comedy? Like some people, because the thing is, I noticed like comedy's just it's a platform, and then you always hop into something else. Like,
I know, which sucks. Like, honestly, I'd be fucking. You know whose career like I really admire is like Brian Regan's, Jim Gaffigan's, like. Obviously, I mean, they're both, like, huge, but, like, they're not, like, I wouldn't want Amy Schumer's life, like, at all. Like, it looks like shit to me.
Not at all, no. You saw what happened to her just, like, last week or whatever?
With the walkouts?
Yeah, she had a walkout. And the thing is, back in the day, if there was a walkout, no one would really know. Where now it's, like, once you get to that level, everyone.
And that's not even news. It's like, okay, so the 200 dickheads, like, walked out of the show.
Didn't like what I said, yeah.
You know, it doesn't make them... Like, you're a dickhead if you go to a comedy show and walk out for any reason, really. Yeah. I think. Like, just sit through it. Like
we were doing the competition at Mohegan, and it's like probably 8 or 9 comics and one host, and so the host is doing his close-up stuff while they tally all the things up.
Yeah.
And Brian Bowden.
Oh, I know.
And so, he's doing like 15, 20 minutes at the end, and he goes into some bit about how your dog's just gonna die. Like, you loved your dog, and it's just gonna die. And so but it's like a long, like deep, penetrating one. And I'm standing near the side where they, where you buy tickets, and this couple gets up, and they walk to the desk, and they're just like, "We want our money back."
Oh shit!
Because of the dog bit. So they literally went through They went through the whole show. It's like going to a movie and be like, "I don't like the ending of this movie. Bullshit. I want my money back."
Yeah. What club was that, did you say?
It's comics. So it's over at
Mohegan.
It was at Mohegan now. It's
what's funny? I I was going to guess it was a casino, I swear to God.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, where that shit happens all the time. Like, I've had problems with that at casinos, at Foxwoods. Like, I had a problem with that once. Like, these people, like, walked out in the middle. Like, they walked out, like, 19 minutes into a 20-minute set. Like, we hate this guy. I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, and then the club gave me some shit. I remember it being like...
Did you have restrictions?
I'm like, hey, is there anything else to do? Oh, yeah, like a zillion things. Like, they probably, like, are gambling or fucking, like, a lot of times with casinos, like, you're getting a guy whose, like, wife dragged him off the floor for, like, an hour and a half just to, like, do something other than gamble, you know? They're not, like, a captive audience. I think their new club is, like, way better because it's more of, like, I don't know. People just seem to go there more just for the comedy show than gamble. Mohegan has more of, like, I think it's just the only thing to do around there. So people just go there to shop.
Well, I'm from there. And it's just like Connecticut is just like it's like suburbs.
Yeah.
A few small cities and just the woods.
There's some weird, like, I didn't know about Connecticut though. Like, there's some weird, like, country shit there. Like,
no, dude, there's fucking farms out there.
Yeah.
Dude. There's some middle of the nowhere shit.
Because even by Mohegan, I went off the reservation. If you know what I mean, literally.
I'm going to lean towards drugs. But
yeah,
yes.
yeah. No, I was like, I cigarettes, actually, because I was like, I'm not paying these, like, fucking crazy Mohegan Sun cigarette prices. They were, like, $15 or something. So I was like, I'll just drive and get some locally. And I went, like, a way I didn't normally go, and it was, like, real country, you know?
Yeah,
like,
no, there's, it's kind of like, it's a weird place because it's in between two big hubs of, like, New York and Boston, but people just grow up there and they kind of just think, oh, yeah, well, this is just it.
That's it.
You know, it's like, oh, we're going to drink in the woods.
Yeah, and it's
tonight,
vastly,
and that's just what it is.
I feel like New Haven is, like, vastly different from, like,
Hartford.
New Haven. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
There's all kinds of, like, different, like, it's quite a hodge. And then you go down to, like, Stratford and
Greenwich.
It's all, like, millionaires. I went to get gas in Greenwich one time, and I, like, just couldn't believe how nice it was.
Yeah, it runs the gamut out there.
It was like a joke. Like, I went to some gas station, and it was, like, something out of a movie. Like, the gas station looked like Norman Rockwell, and then some kid pulls up in, like, a Jeep, and he's got, like, khaki shorts and, like, a brand new shirt and Ray-Bans, and I was like, this is real?
Yeah. But the one thing that's above, I guess, everything covers everything is, like, everybody just gets fucked up there.
Yeah.
Just get drunk. It's just like, well, nothing's happening, so...
The casino was definitely... I was there... When you do that gig, it's like you live there for, like, 4 days.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of guys getting, like, arrested for public intoxication.
Yep, getting lit out there, man.
Yeah.
That's just what it is, though.
You gotta do.
Gotta do what you gotta do, man.
I'm gonna take a stretch.
Do what you gotta do, man. My house is your house.
My big walk here.
I know. So how long have you been in Southie?
Well, I was born there.
Yeah.
And then I lived in Milton.
It's like, how much time you got?
But now, you know, John Paul and Pat Barrett, it's like really their place. I'm just there like most of the time of my life. But I'm sort of nomadic these days. I'm in New York a lot. I'm up here a lot. I'm on the road a lot. So.
You ever think of leaving Boston?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it right now.
Think of leaving this podcast right now?
Yeah, I'm gonna have one foot out the door. No, I'm looking for places in New York. I've been like going down there almost every 2 weeks lately. Yeah. So I'm starting to be like, I still have a lot of dates in New England booked like into the next year. So I'm kind of going to be just in both places for a while.
You think about LA too, or no?
No, I lived out in LA actually when I was like 21 or 22, and I didn't like it too much.
Yeah, way before comedy.
Yeah, I tried to be an actor first.
Yeah.
And right out of acting school, I went there, and it was not my kind of town, but it was also just like, it's not like, I don't know, I got
superficial. I know. Yeah, I have family. I have a bunch of family out there too. It's like it's just one of those things where, like in Boston, when people go to a game, they're like, "Hey, I'm at the game." Whereas if like people go to a Laker game, it's just like, "Hey, look at me, I'm at a game right now. I don't give a fuck about the game." It's like this. It's a showy city.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily love like. I like acting, but I don't necessarily like love hanging out with like fellow actors or like hustling that game anymore. And it's just kind of like that's what that whole city's all about.
Yeah, who do you know? And
like this is kind of a shot, but it's like I feel like a lot of comics go out there and get worse. Like
going to LA.
They go out there and they try and be more broad and more like general and more like appealing to like TV and less appealing to and less like what they really are. You know what I mean? I feel like in New York you're gonna get I feel like the best comics of all time come out of New York City.
Well, it's just real. It's
if you want to do like, and not to mention just like life shit. I'm one of those guys that likes winter. I like fall. I like New England and the East Coast. So I got no fucking. Every trip to LA is like a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't live a real life. They think it's just like. I remember I've had friends. They'd be like, they'll just put on Facebook like, "Oh my God, there's like frost on my windshield." I'm like, "Bitch, what are you talking about? Like that's not. All you have to do is just use your hand and just scrape it. Like that's not a problem."
And just comedy wise, I kind of just like I prefer the New York style comedy to LA style. There's some great fucking comics in LA. Like Comedy Store seems like a really cool place to do comedy and hang out. And
I'm checking it out. I'm going out to LA. I'm actually going out there election night. I'm going out there for a wedding, and so I'm gonna try and stop by the store that day. Then I'm going up north.
But a lot of their best comics are like East Coast transplants.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know they started over here. Well, I think it's that same thing with Boston too. It's like you learn what to do here.
I've probably stayed too long in Boston, but I just like I'm just too like not like non-comedy related things. I love the hiking up here, and I love like the sports up here. It's like stupid reasons of why I stay up here, but I just feel like I don't know. You just got to do what makes you happy. Like I've never been like when I was like younger and trying to be like an actor, I was like I chased the carrot like super hard. And, like, it didn't get me anywhere. And then when I finally started to just be like, I just want to do what I want to do and be happy and, like, try and, like, kind of, like, almost be an artist about it and be like, I just want to create good shit and hopefully people like it. And as soon as I started doing that and not trying so fucking hard, everything started happening. Like,
and that's what it's all about, too. It's like you got to do what you like, and then if it's
But it's, like, no joke. Like, 10 years almost to the day after I graduated from acting school, I booked, like, a regular paying acting gig, whereas like before that it had just been like fucking like 5 jobs in those 10 years, and most of them were like shitty, you know what I mean? And then it was like after that though, 10 years to the day, like bing bang boom. I've been working steadily since then, you know what I mean? But it's just was like it's like one of those things like from a fucking novel or something. It was just like I had to give it. It's like, you know, when you quit thinking about a chick and she calls you.
Yeah.
It was just like that. It was like, all right, I'm just gonna do what I want to do and stop trying to be what I think I should be.
Yeah, just be what you want to be.
Instantaneously, comedy got better. Started getting acting work.
Yeah.
I remember like once I stopped trying to get acting roles and like thinking every audition was a big deal, I started booking shit.
Yeah. You got in your own head, pretty much.
Pretty much, like. But I think it's also like a thing where they can smell it, like in this weird, like subconscious human way, where they're like, something about this guy puts me off.
Yeah, he's trying way too hard. He needs this shit.
Yeah, it's just the effort. I did a couple. I've been like a couple times like. I've been cast in something like before another role, and they'll be like, "Why don't you come in and read with the people?" Or why don't you just come in and watch the auditions so, like, you can toss in your ideas. And it's to see, like, 20 people audition for the same part or sometimes more. It's, like, it's real interesting.
Seeing a bunch of yous trying to do the same thing, and it's just like...
Yeah, or you're like, oh, like, it's, like, so clear when people haven't been to, like, the dance before. You know what I mean? Like, you get people, like, the pros, like, and even the older people who are like, been doing it a long time. Just come in, it's like they've been on so many fucking auditions in their life that
just like whatever,
you know, and even like they're like almost in a rush, you know, to like get this thing fucking over with. And those are the people you want to like work with because you're like, oh, this guy's just like a pro and he's all business. And you get other people that come in, they're like asking 1,000 questions, trying to seem eager. I was definitely that dude, like, at the beginning. You're like, how do you want me to do this? Like, I can do it anyway, so just ask, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's better to just go in and be, like, yourself and be comfortable. And that's, like, in comedy, too, like when you open for famous dudes.
Don't be all,
like, just be fucking cool. Don't ask to take pictures with them, and don't ask them for autographs, and don't, like, you know, choose your moments to be, like, what was it like working with, so and so? Like, choose those moments. Like, they're cool with it. But that was something I learned pretty quick. But like, I definitely a few times early on was like super excited to be working with somebody. But I learned quick that like if you just play it cool and don't like suck their dicks, they might work with you again. You know what I mean? And then you'll actually be friends with them. So,
well, I actually haven't had that experience. Like last year, I went to Just for Laughs in Montreal, and so I was going to visit some friends, and that's the last time I saw Chappelle last year. Nice. So I'm sitting in the lobby, and I'm just waiting for my friends to get up, and literally just famous people everywhere. Like Chris D'Elia is sitting behind me. Yeah. Trevor Noah's at the bar. Like Eric Andre's like getting off an elevator and everything. Yeah. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, I want to go up and talk to these people, but they'll look at me like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm just sitting there the whole time. It's like, I'd rather wait till I'm somewhat on their level. And if I am going to talk to them, just make it about regular shit. Don't make it about like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. Because you think about it, they walk around all day. Yeah. People kind of take a picture of you, what's going on with you, and they don't want to. They don't want to be harassed. They just want to just talk to me like a person.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like, but I definitely have had that. I mean, I worked with Tom Papa recently, and that was a guy I was like excited to work with, and I was like, I almost had to dial back like my enthusiasm a little at first, but it was cool, and I emailed him like we now email a little bit. Nice guy. Eric, you just remind me of Eric Andre though. He kissed me on the mouth.
I think we talked about this before at the bar. Yeah. After a good set or something, or him just being,
he's just insane.
Yeah, he's a crazy.
I just opened for him once for a weekend, and fucking love the guy. Like,
no, he's a great dude.
Like, and he was like, he's not on all the time. Like, so like. When I got there, he was just like, hey, man, like, cool working together. Like, do your thing. I don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, and I was like, oh, I assumed he, like, smoked a lot of weed. Yeah. And I smoke a lot of weed. So I was like, oh, I have weed or whatever. And he's like, I'm not really smoking that much. He's like, you got any, like, psychedelics? I'm more into psychedelics. And I was like, no, I don't have that. But anyway, like, just very low key. Yeah. And so first show, like, we're doing, like, a bunch of shows. And I think I was emceeing. No, I was definitely emceeing because I was bringing him on. And I was like, all right, guys, like, you giving his credits or whatever, Adult Swim, all that. And I'm like, Eric Andre. And he's like, I just hear, like, screaming. And he's like, ah, ah. And he comes out. And he's, like, screaming and jumping around and going crazy. And he's fucking, like, got his shirt off. And he just, like, comes up and, like grabs my head and just gives me like a kiss on the lips. And it's like, at first it's like he is like real tight lipped and like I'm kissing a man, like tight lipped. And but I rolled with it, so I just I grabbed his, put my foot up, and so then he like kind of like opened his mouth a little bit, and like I felt some of Eric Andre's lip. And I never like really kissed a man like that, but I instinctually like did the same moves I do like on chicks. I was like bottom lip. I'll pay some attention to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, telling good jokes is not the only way you get on stage.
Yeah, right. So but then, but the crowd went. Well, they knew I was still surprised by it. So great moment. And then like he's doing his time, and I had, how you have to go up like and be like, give it up, keep it going.
Yeah, at the end, yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna get him back. Like I'm gonna do something to him. So like when I went out, I just like jumped. I like jumped on him like just to hug him. You know what I mean? But, like full body. And he grabbed me and held me, but I heard him going, like holy shit, I'm holding a grown man. But then he went with it a little bit. And I think we did that every set for the rest of the week.
Every single time, yeah. Yeah. You guys still talk and stuff, or
no? Never talked to him again.
Didn't even buy you a drink.
No, I think maybe we follow each other on Twitter, but like, yeah. There's been there's some people you like connect with where it's like, all right, I'm gonna like keep talking, and other times you just know it's like, see you around, like. Good times, like, see you around.
Well, it's one of those things where there's so many people don't realize how many people do it. It's like it's just like life. You don't have time. You don't have time to be close with every single person.
In comics, like famous to non-famous, like sometimes you're sick. Sometimes you work with someone like famous, and you're like, I can't wait to get away from this fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like comics still just like to be alone. Sometimes I think it's funny, like I got a lot of work early because I didn't drink, and like around here, like that's valuable. Yeah, because like you can drive dudes to gigs, they can get shit faced, you can drive them back. But like, there's sometimes you're just like, I want to go be alone in my hotel room, and he wants to go be alone.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one guy I used to open for a lot who like I think he liked me because I didn't want to do shit all the time. Mm-hmm. I was like, we'll see you at the show.
Just like hang out.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to smoke in my room real quick.
Yeah, I'll smoke in my room.
How did the, I was actually next, your podcast, hypothetically. I guess, what was the genesis of that?
Genesis of that was, it was originally called the Will Noonan Podcast, and I wanted to...
Fucking killer, dude.
I know, right?
I don't know how it didn't
I wanted to, I just was telling someone a story last night. I was listening to podcasts. I was listening to Fitzsimmons, Rogan, and Burr all the time. And someone was like, it was Bill Burr and Joe Rogan on one of their podcasts talking. And they were just talking about, like, how much doing the podcast, like, made their comedy better. And Bill Burr was like, oh yeah, like, 100%. Like, it's made my stand-up so much better. So, like, fucking was like that night I, like, recorded one on my phone. I was like, all right, that's what you got to do. So I would record it on my I recorded, like, 2 or 3, didn't put it out. And then I recorded one I thought was good enough, put it out, like, from cell phone to the internet.
Yeah, it sounded like shit.
It sounded like shit. And then I kept it going. Like, no one was listening. It probably did, like, 15, 20 episodes, like, where no one was listening. But then, like, I started getting, like, a lot of listeners because, like, I was still pretty early to, like, the podcasting game. And I was making, like, the top 100 of iTunes comedy, which was, like, so great. And then, so then I started to get a lot of listeners. And still doing the same thing. I was getting a little bit better. And I think somewhere, like, around episode 50... like, the podcast service, Podmonster, just, like, fucking, like, went away. Like, they didn't give a message to anyone. They didn't, like, a lot of podcasts got fucked. Like, they didn't, like,
say shit.
They didn't put out a statement. Like, one day they just, like, were gone. Like, the website was still there. You could, like, log in, but none of the buttons worked.
Oh, so you got rid of all your files, and, like, but all of the stuff was...
Message boards were just, like, fucking, like... what the fuck? Hello? Is anyone... like, none of my emails are getting answered? Hundreds of people, thousands of people. So, like, I couldn't upload a new podcast. And I was like, what the fuck? So, I wanted to do it. I got with Libsyn to put it out. But then, like, I couldn't use the name because it was, like, technically still out there. And I can't have it taken down, right? So, I was like, fuck, I need a new name. So, I came up with Hypothetically from a joke that I did. And then I'd be like... I smoke weed hypothetically. High is how I get. Pathetically is how I feel.
Do you record every single podcast high, or is it just like that's just the name?
No, and you know what? When I started, I was like, I really like leaned on being high and smoking pot and talked about it a lot. But now it's like nothing. It's like now it's a podcast about like a comedian who's like people who have listened to the podcast for years have like I've gone from MC to feature to headliner on the podcast.
You just grow.
So it's just like I just talk about like what I'm doing and what's going on in the world. So it's like a little time capsule of like my life at this time.
Nice.
And a lot of people really like that aspect of it. You know, they're like, you know, people come to shows and they're like, remember in Vermont 2 years ago you got heckled, look at you now. You know what I mean? And it's like, and definitely I always tell guys like, if you're an MC, like go back and listen to the MC ones where I'm talking about how shitty that was and like what I did. And so hopefully I'll continue to do it, and hopefully I'll get bigger and bigger, and so will the podcast. But podcast was doing great, but I basically had to like start over at episode 50, and I lost like
bunch of followers,
bunch of subscribers and followers, and had to like start over a little bit. But then in episode 100, I got like professional equipment finally, and did it all nice and. Now I'm like up to like 180, and everything's gravy. It's like it's doing really good. Like I was saying before podcast, every episode is more downloaded than the last. And
so you always like try and drop a story in there of like what's going on, just to chronicle.
A little bit. I mean, sometimes I don't. It's weird. Like sometimes it's like a diary, and other times I just do. It's like a straight topical shit. I'll just talk about the world and like riff on that.
And you always have a guest. You don't just go. You're not like Bill Burr who just. Like,
no, I am. I'm usually alone.
Usually alone. You just kind of go off. And
95% of the time I'm alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had guests maybe 10 times, and I used to do it as a radio show too, for like 90 days. I did that for 3 months. Weekly Dig gave me like their studio, and I would do a live show where people could call in, which was fucking awesome. I loved doing that, but. Yeah, 90 to 95% of them are just me alone. Usually, on my way to a gig or on my way back from a gig. And I love to put in, like, the bad stuff. Like, if I get heckled or if I, like, have a bad set, like, I put those in. And I think I did one right after we did that show together this summer. And I talked
the Wareham show?
Yeah.
It was
a good time.
It was cool. It was weird. But yeah, I'm doing another show for them, I think, in, like, 2 weeks. But, yeah, it's the main guy puts it on. I find the comics. He gets the people.
He's a great dude.
No, he is a cool dude.
But I think I talked about just, like, summertime comedy in that episode. Like, I try and, like, just go, like, like when I did the Kumia show a couple weeks ago, I was, like, real nervous about it. Yeah. And I just talked about that. Like, all right, here's what it's like to be, like, nervous about something being big. Like, that was that episode, you know? And then at the end, I, like, talked about UFC a little bit. So it's kind of like a hodgepodge of a lot of things. But a lot of the emails I get are, like, you know, I like work in a cubicle all day, and like I listen to you like driving to all these shitty gigs, and it's fun. I always wanted to do comedy. It didn't work out for me, but it's cool to like be there with you when you do it, you know. So
people don't realize like it doesn't matter what level you're on, like you reach people. People don't understand. It's like you could, like I have like I don't know, say like 1,700 or no, it's 2,100 like followers on Instagram, but it's like people, no matter what you're doing, whether it's big or small. Yeah. People are like, oh yeah, you know what? I can't do that, but that's cool. That's a cool dude. You know, he made me laugh, and that's a fun thing he does.
Really, that's what it is. Like nowadays, especially, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's weird. You just kind of have to like, continually put yourself out, and be like honest with people. I think that's a big thing. A lot of people fuck up. Like if you're trying to be, it's just like I was saying earlier with the auditions. Like if you're trying to be someone you're not, even on social media. People can, even if they don't consciously know that that's what you're doing, there's something about you they don't like. Yeah, you know?
They'll find it.
It's unavoidable. The best thing you can do is like be yourself, and the way you're going to do that is by doing stand-up and like doing a lot of it. Don't be the dude who's trying to like do enough shows to be okay and then be awesome on social media. It's like the stand-up is the most important thing. Yeah. If that's fucking good, like everything's going to be fine.
Well, I think a lot of people, they don't realize it's like, if you want to get into it, they'll be like, oh yeah, how do you do that? And it's like, for me, personally, I'm just like, I don't want to do anything else. Yeah. Like, it's not about what I want to do, it's what do I not want to do? Yeah. And so that just keeps you going.
Yeah, that's exactly I mean, I kind of feel that way too. And at this point, it's like, it's been so long and so many years.
10 years in?
Yeah, and so many years, like, even the jobs I did to get, like, even before I went full-time, it was like, you know, it was like I was like a waiter and like a karaoke guy and an actor. It's like I haven't had like a real job in like many fucking years, like 7-8 years. Yeah. So it's kind of like
can't even go back.
I don't even like I have no skills. I have no like semblance of like how to even like do that thing. So there was like a time a few years ago where the economy was so bad that I was just like, well, fucking move in with my parents and just try and be a comedian and give it like 100% of my effort. And it really wasn't that hard to like book hosting spots every weekend. And then after that, you know, it was all great. I booked a couple acting gigs, and before I knew it, it was like, oh fuck. A lot of people, that recession like pushed them into their dreams. You gotta figure out what you gotta do. And then it was so funny. I remember like the exact period of time I was like, hey, no one's asking me, like no one's like suggesting, no one's going like, hey, my brother has a job, like if you're looking, or like, no, you know, like, hey, there's a fireman's test coming up. I just noticed, I was like, hey, people have stopped like suggesting shit like that, and it was like a good feeling.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah.
It's not where you start, it's where you finish, man.
Hell yeah.
Motherfucker. And if not, you just smoke a little weed and you write some jokes. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of that too, like I always ask people here and there if we get to that conversation, but first time smoking weed. What was the situation?
You know what?
Some people have either really dull stories or some of the greatest stories I've ever heard.
No, mine's kind of I mean, it's not really great, but it's a little bit of an interesting story, I guess. It was when I was going to that Catholic school. Yeah. And
was it middle school or so? Or
it was 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th that I went there. It's like a random. But this kid, Mike, was like a couple years older than me, but he drove me to school because like our moms were friends. Yeah. And he would sometimes like smoke weed, like smoke J's on the way home. Yeah. And I was like, just kind of like, which is so funny looking back, but I was kind of like, nah, that stuff's for losers. Yeah.
That DARE program
I don't
is
touch
amazing.
dope. You know what I mean? But then, like, one day, I think I was just, like, I was, like, 13 or something. I was just like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
We get high, you know? And,
Come on, Craig.
So we go to this, right in Boston, there's, like, this, Keystone old folks home on 93. Yeah. There's a bridge. It goes over the Neponset River. And we go there and smoke weed. Now, flash forward to this year, I'm watching the movie Black Mass. And I'm like, anyway, they ended up finding, like, tons of dead bodies
from Whitey Bulger.
From Whitey Bulger in this exact place we went. We went there. We smoked the joint. And I remember, like, not really feeling a lot of the mental parts of being high. Like, I wasn't, like, high and, like, I'm seeing things or I'm feeling high. But I definitely, like, looked high and I was, like, starving. Like,
self-conscious as fuck.
Yeah, well, a little bit. But I was more, like, my eyes were really red and I was, like, really hungry. But I remember being kind of, like, big whoop. Like, I don't feel different, you know? But I was more like, shit, now I got to go home, you know what I mean? So
and then deal with this.
So I remember he takes me home. And my mom, I walk in the door, and, like, I'm just, like, my mom's on the couch. I'm just, like, trying to walk by her. You know, I'm, like, a teenager, so it's not weird for me to be like, hi, and just go up to my room. And I go by, and, like, I take, like, one step by her, and she's like, hey, like, you're supposed to, like, sign this thing and bring it to your hockey coach or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I turn around, she's like, hey, have you been smoking weed? Right? And I don't know where I came up with this, like, fucking in one stoned second in my 13-year-old brain, but I was like, no. I was like, why? And she's like, your eyes are, like, all red. And I was like, oh. And I, like, went into, like, I got wicked casual. I was like, I was like, this is kind of funny. I was like, I just sneezed, like, 7 times right before I came in. I don't know. It was like, and she was like, oh. And I, like, went upstairs. I think she knew. Yeah. But, like, that was, like, good enough.
Crazy story, by the way.
It was
these allergies, Mom?
I was like, I just sneezed so many times. I don't know where I came up with that. But, like, then I went upstairs. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, she knew. Like she's gonna. But nothing ended up happening. And I didn't really smoke weed. I smoked weed a little bit in my, like, junior and senior years of high school. When I would get, like, a little fucking drunk, I'd be like, smoke some weed. You know what I mean? But it wasn't until I moved to New York and went to acting school that I started smoking, like, regularly.
Gotta decompress, man.
No, now it's like...
Oh, yeah, you gotta do it to live.
I love it. I smoked before I walked here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my first time, actually, speaking of New York City, we're on a field trip to Manhattan. This is, like, right after 9/11.
Oh, shit.
And
I was there.
Yeah. A height of, like, see something, say something.
So, I may have passed your school group. How funny is that?
Well, what it was so weird. It was a field trip for nothing, pretty much. It was just like, hey, spend $25 and we'll go to, like, NBC Studios.
Oh, yeah.
And some of our friends brought weed, but they didn't bring a Dutch because we're not old enough to buy them.
Yeah.
So it was their brilliant idea to just find a guy on the street to buy it, and I guess their plan was just give him a hit.
Yeah.
If he got some. And so that's literally, it's just... That's
hilarious.
Pure pressure.
The biggest loser ever. Who's like, I'll buy you guys a cigar if you give me a hit of it.
Yeah, and us too, it's just like, that was this is like before it was decriminalized, like it's just after 9/11. Like, us getting caught would have been a big deal.
New York, up until like 2 years ago, it was a really big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Any drug, weed, even weed, like, was like 3 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so back then, you think if we got caught, we'd have been really fucked.
Did you find a guy?
He found a guy. Yeah, we found a guy. He bought it for us, and then we went around the corner. And I wasn't like high, but it was just like.
Did he smoke with you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I literally don't think we found.
Was
just
he like a
alley.
homeless guy?
No, he was just like some some middle-aged like black dude who had nothing to do on a weekday afternoon.
I haven't done it in a long time, but when I was like 20, I used to buy cigarettes sometimes for kids, like because people had done it so many times for me. I used to just stand outside stores when I was like 16 and be like, here's a 20, like, if you buy me cigarettes, you can keep the change, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, like, when kids would ask me, I'd be like, man, like, he may have been out there for, like, an hour. I'm just going to buy him for him. He's going to get him anyway.
Well, that's what I was thinking, too, because I used to work in high school at a gas station, and people would come in, and they'd be like, hey, they'd see you in high school, like, hey, can I get this or whatever, and it's just like, it all depended on who you were working with. If you were working with an older person, they'd be like, no, you can't sell to him, and it's like, they're going to get it anyway. By coming in here, there's, I better quit smoking cigarettes. Like, that's not how addiction works.
Exactly. One time a guy wouldn't sell me condoms when I was, like, in high school.
What?
Like, you're too young to be having sex. At a fucking, like, Tedeschi convenience store, too. Like, not even, like, a fucking...
He does know that's supposed to protect you.
I know, and I remember, like, being like, dude, like, I'm trying to, like, do the right thing.
And, you just come back and be like, I have AIDS. Thanks.
I think I ended up buying them anyway and being like, you don't have that right, dude.
Yeah, at all. It's not my content. It's my body, my choice.
Someone was like, I think not an employee. I think another customer was like, sell the kid the condom.
Was it like a slow clap at the end when you're buying it?
Sell that boy. Let him get his dick wet. Or let it at least feel like it's wet.
But now, before we get out of here, just a few things. I guess where on social media can we find you, and I guess what kind of shows we're going to be at?
WillNoonan.com is my website, and it has links to like my Instagram and everything else, Twitter. It's all, but I'm easy. Will Noonan. Yeah. And then on Instagram, it's Will Noonan the comedian. But WillNoonan.com has all that, all my dates. I got a bunch of shows in the Northeast, but. I don't even know. I don't know when the next time I'm in Boston is, but I will say this. If you're not, start planning now for New Year's Eve. I'm going to be at Nick's Comedy Stop doing 2 shows on New Year's Eve. It's my first time headlining Nick's on New Year's Eve.
Good shit,
I'm very excited. I got to be the youngest comic to do it in like 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm
New Year's Eve?
Yeah, I'm excited. Excited.
Yeah, because they usually bring out like Lenny Clark and all that.
Yeah, so I want to sell it. I feel like this is a huge like opportunity, and I don't want to. For the sake of Boston comedy, it's got to be packed. Yeah. It's not about me. It's not about me.
I'm totally worth it, but it's not about me.
Boston comedy to keep moving in a great direction. Come on out, support me. But I honestly, it's really like when I booked it, it was like a heartwarming. I was like, here we go, because that's like my favorite place in the world to do comedies. Nick's Comedy Stop or one of them. I have so many great memories there. So it's going to be an awesome fucking
definitely, man. So. Definitely. But no, thanks for stopping by, guys. And that's been Will Noonan. I've been Jay Smitty, guys. Thanks for listening. Take care and peace and love. Peace.